teens, and then I was still going to church, but I wasn't exercising in anything because like I wasn't playing, I wasn't reading the Bible verses or anything, just sitting in a seat. And then as that happens, you tend to experiment. Sadly, got into pornography. Unfortunately, that's a dark rabbit hole.
Actually?
Say it again.
How old were you?
I want to say 13.
Wow.
Yeah, 13. Yeah, and that messes with your mind, man.
No,
It
yeah.
messes with your mind.
Okay, so before we begin, I want to set the tone for this video. This is not normally from our content. Usually we do interactions and funny moments and, well, stuff like this. Alright, so the boys dared me to make a Drake AI song. They didn't think I was able to pull it off, but I did. And on to that boy what?
Peter.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1. You So this is definitely not like those videos, but I believe this definitely needs to be up there. And originally did emerge from our camp videos, but its tone needs its own place. So originally definitely not planned, but something about this conversation just sparked something that's meaningful, a message that I believe resonates with not only to me, but to those who are willing to listen. So if you're one of them, I hope you enjoy.
Okay, so if you could, briefly, right, share your journey of
My journey as a Christian.
yeah, as a Christian, like
So-
getting to know Him. Or,
So for me, I was born in the faith, so my parents were both Christian, so I, from a young age was always going to church. But as time goes on, as we grow, we experience different things. So I wasn't the best Christian, so to speak, up until a couple years ago, but I struggled with a couple things, stuff that kind of I think most guys deal with, especially kind of going into high school. People like say, "Oh, why aren't you going to parties? Why aren't you coming out?" And my parents are very like strict, so they're like, "Well, we have these rules, we have these beliefs," and then but I think that's my kind of story of how I became Christian. But I've been through a couple of things that have, I would say, made myself question if I was a good Christian. But luckily, I was born into the faith.
right.
Yeah.
So how so when you were when you grew up in a church, did you pick up any instruments? Because I know you're a musician, right?
Yeah. So when I was I've always liked music since I was little. I was never athletic, not at all. So at the age of 10, I started learning the drums. They brought someone into the church, and then that's how I started. I played drums for a while, and then I went to learn the guitar for like a couple times. Didn't really pick it up too much, but I know a little bit. And then to the piano. So I play 3 instruments now.
Oh wow, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you're really good.
Thank you.
That's really good.
Thank you.
So I guess I'd ask, how it all started, because as Christians, especially now, especially in America, people are saying like church is dying.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of Christians, and
Yeah.
the world's becoming more secular, right?
Yeah.
And people are saying it's for the better.
Yeah.
And for you growing up because I'm assuming you were born here, right?
Yeah.
So growing up in an environment where there wasn't much of like Christianity in schools,
Yeah.
and places like that. So what made you? Because then you mentioned that you stepped into the world, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So you can maybe talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
And then maybe talk about your transition into the church.
So, when I was like in my early teens, like I want to say like 13, 14, I got tired of being in church. It was a thing that I've done for many years, and it sort of became like a routine for me. And to be honest, it was like I was only going because my parents were forcing me to go, and it was like I was sitting there, but the pastor would be preaching, and it was like that Muppet got what. So it's like it was going in through one ear, going out through the other. So, and then at a certain point, it was like just repetitive. But I wasn't getting that I'm going to church, receiving the word, receiving the presence of God. So, but like I said, that happened early in my teens, and then I was still going to church, but I wasn't exercising in anything because like I wasn't playing, I wasn't reading the Bible verses or anything like that. So, I was just there. I was kind of considered just sitting in a seat. And then as that happens, you tend to experiment with certain things, and sadly got into pornography. Unfortunately, that's a dark
How old
rabbit
were
hole.
you actually?
Say it again.
How old were you?
I want to say 13.
13. Wow.
Yeah, 13. Yeah, and that messes with your mind, man.
No,
It
yeah.
messes with your mind. And thankfully, since I came back, I haven't, watched pornography or anything like that. But it's a very dark and twisted way to
To
for a
see
kid
things, yeah.
to see all that stuff, because at the tip of our hand we have everything right here. Everything is at our fingertips. So, but I went through that. I started listening to secular music. I started to not listen to Christian music. Started cursing a lot. My whole being basically changed. I was a different person.
And this is still 13.
13, yeah. And then as time goes on, I tried to stop whatever, but once you kind of, when you're young and you like wake up that part of you that's like that desire, sexual desire,
Yeah.
it's hard to say to satisfy, especially if you're not married, because like if you feel like you want to do something, you can't, because you have no partner. And under us, for us to have a partner, you have to be married.
Married, yeah.
So as a kid who's 13, 14, and be married, so you have to have a lot of self-control to be like, I know this is wrong, I can't do this, and just stop. Because even back then, everything we saw, like every commercial, everything we saw was very sexualized, very kind of like, oh, like a commercial for soda. You saw a girl come out with a bikini and a canister, you're like, oh, this is that. But that was that. But I mean, luckily I've gotten away from that, stop cursing, stop listening to secular music. But that was around, I want to say, like 17. And slowly, we were getting better. But I was, I didn't feel the same back like when I was like just starting. I still felt like something was like missing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went through this process where my mom got sick. She had a mini stroke. She had to have surgery. It was a whole bunch of things. And it was like where like we didn't know where she was going to survive or not.
Wow.
So
Yeah, how old were you when that?
I was like I was 2 years ago.
Wow.
I was 2 years
Sorry
ago.
for the reason.
Yeah, but I was I was staying away from all that bad stuff, but I still felt like something was missing. Like I wasn't how I was in the beginning, and when she got sick, I started praying. I started getting into more with God, and then I realized that what I was missing was I wasn't praying as much. I wasn't reading the Bible as much. I wasn't giving myself up to God how I was in the beginning. And that's what was missing in my connection with God. So for me, when my mom got sick, I see it as like something bad happened, but something good happened as well, because I realized what I was missing to make my connection with God even better.
Right.
So that's what kind of got me closer to God. And now, like I always like to serve, but now I do it wholeheartedly, knowing that when I do it, I feel happy because I'm serving God and everything. And I feel that connection again. It's not like, and sometimes, when we're praying or, looking for God, we might not feel that presence, but, we still know He's there. And for me, it's like, I pray, I look for Him and I feel that presence.
Wow.
And that's what's important,
Yeah.
to feel that presence of God, that He knows, that I know that wholeheartedly that I'm doing everything I can and He's with me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And like talking about the present, so when you let's go back to like when you were 13.
Yeah.
Like, when you were still struggling with porn addiction,
Mhm.
still struggling with maybe your identity too.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is before high school.
Yeah, before
So,
I
like,
yeah.
did you feel the presence of God still with you, even though you were still doing these things?
Yes, I would say yes. Whenever like I felt like I was lost, I would pray sometimes, and I would feel like God was there listening to me. And even when we like invited someone to come to the church, like they would pray over me, whatever, and I would feel it, but it wasn't like something that made me like feel like, oh, I should stop, or I should like come back. It wasn't until like a couple of years later where I was like, no, I have to like get better. Like I can't keep doing this, because it like I said, porn addiction and watching porn messes your mind up so much, and it's not good for you. It's really not. And so, contrary to what everybody thinks in the world, but even in sex ed, it's like porn's fine. It's normal. It's natural. But we know that it's not true. So, but yeah, no, that was how when going through that, I still felt the presence of God, but it wasn't the same.
Mhm.
But God's mercy still came upon me. It was like let me talk to you. Let me take this moment to tell you that I'm still here with you.
And how old were you when that mummy came?
Oh, I would say about like 15.
Wow.
Around
So like
15.
right when you basically got into high school.
Yeah, yeah. And that's when like it was even harder because like all my friends were like, let's go to some parties, let's go out. And then my parents like, no, like we can't let you go out for a certain time or whatever. And so that made me sort of like an outsider to everybody. Like I didn't have
Yeah.
like, a lot of friends. I had
Yeah.
a very small circle of friends, but even then with them, like I didn't go out with them. They went out probably, but I didn't because my parents wouldn't let me. But it was different. But no, I was definitely an outsider in school. Yeah.
And how did that make you feel? Like now that like you're sort of a part of it,
Yeah.
and now that you stepped out, and maybe you reflected on your actions,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you've seen like a whole different
I feel like
perspective.
I'm grateful for what happened to me only because I can give it advice on how to deal with what you did and to go back into the faith. Because a lot of people think, oh, because he's born in the faith, he has no problems, he has no issues, or doesn't have to deal with those many things. But it's sometimes people who are born in the faith are ignorant in the sense that they don't know what sin is like. So for them, like it's like to try, it's like cool, you know.
Yeah.
But once you get into it, then you feel like, oh shoot, I shouldn't have done this. But then you still get that temptation to do it again. So I mean, like they say, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
So it's better not to know it. But if you do, unfortunately, fall, I feel like I'm one of those people that can be like, hey, like I've been there, but you can get up and you can be better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And like when that choice came when your friend was telling you like, oh, let's do this.
yeah.
And did you like felt like there was a separation with your friends?
It made me. I would say to them, they just looked at me as if I was just weird or old school. Like, why can't you go out? Like, why can't you do this?
Like you used to, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like they were looking at me like, okay, that's kind of weird, but whatever. And we still hung out like during school, but it wasn't like the same where they're like, oh yeah, like remember we went to the mall or did this? Like, I couldn't. So, but I mean, we were still really good friends. It's just that you couldn't go out.
Yeah, it's like do the things that they were like interested
Exactly.
in.
Yeah. So.
So like you mentioned that you had like cursing a lot.
Yeah.
So, like was that still like an issue in high school, or is that
I had to work on it for a couple of years to kind of fully get over it. Every every once in a while, like one might slip out on accident or something, but uh, back then it was like every other word was like a curse word,
right?
But you just have to train your own vocabulary with different words. So, but it's doable for sure, And every time, like when I was trying to get rid of that, I would talk, and then one would come out, and then I would just like, let me pray. Sorry, God, I know I'm trying to get better. Please forgive me for this word I just said. So I made sure that every time I made that mistake, to just ask for forgiveness, because there's that gut feeling that I feel like, no, I gotta ask for forgiveness. That's what I did. What I just said isn't that right? Yeah.
So like, what pushed you? Like, cause you were 15 when you like,
Yeah.
God is like, wow, God really does care about me. Like, what made you like did something touch you or?
I would say we were going through a process with my family where our house was under foreclosure.
Oh, okay.
And we brought this preacher. Her name was Diana, if I'm mistaken. And she was like, she was praying for everybody, and then she comes to us. She comes to me to pray, and then she goes, God's watching over you. He's like, He's watching over your situation with your house and with your family and even with you.
And she knew this?
Yeah, she didn't know me at all.
Wow.
So she was like, God, He's there with you. He's listening. Just have faith in Him. So.
And how old are you?
I want to say 15 around that age, 15 or 16 around there. Yeah, if anything. But yeah, so that's what kind of made me kind of like realize like, you know what, I have to slowly get better.
So you recognize like, yeah, Jesus is.
Yeah.
He's there.
Yeah. But then again, when I did recognize it, I didn't fully like go back to how I was, praying, doing fasting, reading the Bible. So it wasn't the same. I was just like, I'm not cursing. I'm not watching porn. I'm not doing anything bad. But I'm not spending time with God. So it's like, I'm not doing anything wrong, but I'm not spending time with God. So it's like, it's like someone who's not a Christian at all. Like I have done, haven't robbed, haven't killed, haven't murdered, haven't raped, but why do I have to go to hell? But it's because you're not looking for God. There's a reason why God has to makes us and ask for us to look for Him, to find His presence, to like kind of have a relationship with Him, and that's what was missing, that relationship. I wasn't doing anything bad, but I also wasn't having that relationship with God.
So like, did you feel like empty?
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
But
For sure.
but like you were not though. You know, like you were
Yeah,
there.
I was, but I wasn't at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's ironic, but I would definitely say I kind of just took the easy way out, so to speak, because it's
Yeah.
like where I was just like,
I'm feeling out. Like, give me a second.
okay.
All right. So now we're just different scenery, right?
Yes,
For just the movie.
yes, exactly.
So you were talking about your relationship, right?
Yeah,
So, how did it like? So when this person came to you and told you about something that was very personal,
Yeah.
and like you said, she never met you,
yeah,
and right there is like, you made a choice.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So now that you took that choice, you went after it,
Mhm.
but now you felt like on top of that, like you like didn't have these addictions anymore.
yeah,
You were basically good, but you were still missing something.
yeah. Like I said, it made me feel like, God, it was there with me and everything, but I was taking the easy way out, but not like fully going back to how I was. Because God asked for us every day to read the Bible, and pray, once in a while to do a fast or whatever. But I wasn't doing that. I wasn't even doing like the morning prayer or even before I ate. It was just going about my life, doing everything right, but I wasn't having that relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, it's like you're okay, but you're not.
Right.
So yeah.
So like, what helped you like now that you're a musician, right?
Mhm.
What pushed you to that side?
To being back to musician, honestly, I just love playing. Playing is so much fun, especially when we have those like spontaneous moments where like we're still playing, of course, but the whoever's leading is like just like giving out like ministering to those people and everything, and especially when like the music intensifies and the person intensifies. So that's what I enjoy the most. Like I said from the beginning, I've always loved music and always loved playing. So it's one of my passions.
Yeah, man, and God definitely using you.
Thank you.
So like, so your relationship with Christ started from basically like after all the events that happened in the past.
Yeah.
Now that you're there, how is that? How do you see it solidified?
I see it more solidified now because I feel like, how do I say it? After I've been through all of this, I can now kind of understand a bit more what the word says, just be careful about this and that.
Yeah.
And especially with how that preacher, when she like told me, what was going on, it made me believe that there's actually a God out there because she didn't know me. There wasn't no hidden camera in my house that was recording me or anything like that. She didn't know me at all. I think she was coming from another country. Yeah. So it was like, she doesn't know me. She doesn't know my past. She doesn't know my parents. So she didn't know anything. So that to me is like, yeah, someone's watching over me. You know what I mean? Someone's listening or seeing what's going on. And someone's telling me that God is there with me through all that. That just kind of confirms that God is real in my life. And with everything else that I went through, like I said, it helps me kind of just want to be there for other people who have gone through like situations like I have, where they were born in the faith, stepped out, but feel like they can't come back in because of that, whatever issue that they're dealing with. Yeah.
So how did God, because like, let's just say, I mean, there are going to be people who are struggling with you going through.
Yeah.
And maybe they're just like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
What can you say to them? Like, what could you like tell them? Like,
the best thing that helped me was tell somebody about it. Tell somebody about your issue, whether it be your pastor, even your parents, your sister, or brother, or cousin, or a friend who's Christian, and have them have accountability on you. And so it's like, and even then, like, you might still want to hide it, because most of the time when we go through this, people who have gone through this, the worst time where you feel that sensation is at night. You're by yourself. So what I used to do was I used to get right out of bed, take a cold shower, pray, and go right to bed.
Wow.
go right to bed. But what also doesn't help is a lot of social media. Try to limit your time on social media. Like I said, from left and right, we see models, showing stuff, and like I feel like for guys especially, the first thing that makes us aroused is our eyes, what we see. So actually on Sunday I was preaching about the Trojan horse. Be careful of the Trojan horse.
Okay.
Basically, my theme was when you the Trojan horse was my theme, but I spoke about Samson and Delilah.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the verses in Judge, I think 2:15, it says that he saw with his eyes a woman who was a prostitute, slept with her. And it kept saying he saw with his eyes. So wherever our eyes are on can lead us to different paths. And in some cases that leads to sinful and lustful thoughts. So
and that's the first thing you look at.
Yeah. So, and it's natural for, you see someone walk by, they have a nice body, you look, okay, but once you go for that second look, that's when that's not an accident. That's you wanting to look at it again. So it just, depends on, yourself. Be like, I know she looks good, but I can't. And it's also, trying to respect women as well. A lot of people have that perception that we like to, people who are Christian don't respect women at all. And we do. It's just that a lot of people don't represent that in the church. And I think if we want the outside world to see us in a different light, we have to work on ourselves first. And then they can be like, oh no, they can't say that anymore because it's not true.
So my last follow-up question will be more, what has Jesus done that you're saying, wow, I'm lucky?
That's a good one.
Like you're just like, wow, like he has done so much for me that I don't know what I have to do without.
I would say it was my whole situation with my mom when she was getting really sick, because there was one point where we went to go visit her at the hospital, and this was like mid-COVID, so a lot of hospitals weren't letting people go to see anybody. So the only hospital that was Good Samaritan Hospital, and that was 45-minute drive from us. Yeah, so it was deep, but I would go to church, play. I wouldn't stay for the sermon, but I would just play, go to the hospital. And then we went one Sunday. My mom was so much medication, so many drugs. And we were there, we were sitting with my sister, and at one point she's like, where are you guys? And we're like, what are you talking about? And then she was like, I can't see, like everything is dark. And then she started crying, and then I was like, oh my God, is she dying right now in front of us? And then it was like that moment where I was like, please God, don't let her die. And then you have like that gut wrench feeling, like your throat is like in a knot. And then like the heart monitor was going down, down, and down. And then out of nowhere just stopped. Like it stopped going down. And then she was fine. She was laying down, and then it was like, for me, it was like, oh my God, God heard me. It was like, please, just please. And then with everything my mom went through, she went through a lot. So we also, as a family, went through a lot. So I think that just shows us, like, if you kind of come together as a family and look for God, whatever situation you're going through, if it's in his plan for him to save somebody, to heal somebody, he'll do it. What you have to do is just ask for it. But if God has other plans, then there are other reasons for it. And that's something that I had to come to terms with and accept. Like, if it's not in God's plans for her to survive this, it's not his fault. It's just her time. We all have a time.
Yeah.
It's written already, and no one leaves before their time. And fortunately, people pass for us to learn something, and it's hard to understand that. And we always want to find someone to blame in those situations, like, oh, it was the doctors. No, it was God. But sometimes there's a purpose for it. Might be sad, but, there's a purpose for everything. Yeah.
And as for Christians, it's not sad because we're going to be in a place where,
yeah, that's true.
So, and that's another, like, comparison to the world where that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. They think that, I'm never going to see them again.
And on top of that, no one knows. Like, they're like,
sure.
oh, It could be.
That's true. A lot of people believe, in the whole purgatory thing, or this is hell or whatever, but it is. But
Pure darkness.
yeah, it's very bro. There is a life after it. So, and our decisions decide where we end up in. So,
So, one more thing,
yeah.
and we can wrap it up. So, what does Jesus mean to you?
Jesus means, for me, I would say, my son cheesy, but to me, he's everything. He saved me from a lot of things. He saved me from my own sin. To me, it always amazes me how the Bible says that. He gave his only son for someone who didn't even know. Like, Jesus didn't know me. He didn't. But he sacrificed his own life for those who were coming after him. And it's like to give us a way out of, that sin that we had. And to me, honestly, if I look back to every problem that I ever had, the one who saved me from everything is Jesus. So, yeah.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you for having me.